Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain. And today on Cool Your Heels, our special guest is Sam, the choir director from the Watoto Child Care Ministry and Choir. Good afternoon, Sam. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Lillian. How are you today?
I am doing fine. The sun is out, so I am feeling good.
Wow. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited, and it's a privilege for us as Watoto to be here with you.
Well, I wanted the world to hear who you were and why you put the choir, why the choir got together, and your message that you want to spread across the world, because I really think it's important for every man, woman, and child to hear it.
Okay, that's true. So first of all, the choir is just an icing on the cake. It's a representation of a bigger group back in Uganda. Watoto is a church back at home that was founded by two Canadian missionaries, that's Gary and Marilyn Skinner. So 25 years ago, God told them to start up a church in Africa where they would speak English and care for the needs of the people. But by then, in Africa, especially Uganda, there's a lot of war, and we had lots of people die and leave their children orphaned, and that's how the choir was birthed. So in 1994, Gary put up the first choir that came to the U.S. to basically raise our awareness, and through that, we got many people who partnered with us, and it became a bigger thing. And right now, as I speak, we have 7 choirs that travel all over the world. We have one that travels 4 choirs that travel in Jan to Canada, US, Australia, and the UK. Then in September, we have 2 choirs that go to Asia, and one comes again to the US. Then we have 1 choir that travels in June to Brazil, and all of them are just a part of one body, doing one thing, sharing the stories of the different children who are abandoned, and telling people about the goodness of God, what God is doing back in Africa, because most of these children have lost their parents, and they have nowhere to live but Watoto. Through Watoto, God has given them a second chance, and through the choirs, lives are being changed. We are seeing testimonies. Just a week now in the U.S., and we have had over 3-4 concerts, and we are seeing lives being changed. So briefly, that's what the choir is doing in the U.S.
I think that's terrific. Now, are the choirs arranged in ages, or are they all ages combined?
Oh, with the choir, they get basically certain ages. So the children are picked from the age of 6 to 13. That's the age bracket of the different children that are picked. And back at home, we have over 3,000 children that we look after. So we make sure every child, at least once in their lifetime, gets an opportunity to travel in the choir, because even the choir is a place where they get to disciple them. When they travel, they see new things around the world, and when they go back, at least their perspective about life definitely changes.
I bet it does. Now, are the kids also given a education through the ministry as well?
Oh, yes. And so back at home in Watoto, it's not, like I said, it's not just a church. So what happens is when they are recruited in the program, we have 3 villages. We have a village called Suvi, and Suvi means hope. We have a village called Bira. We have a village called Laminadera. And in those villages, they are put into homes, in homes where they have a mother, they have brothers and sisters, and in those same villages, they have schools. So what happens is they live a normal life like a child. So when they go in the villages, after leaving home, they go to school and they go through the normal curriculum that other children in the country go through. Actually, our schools are one of the best schools that we have in Uganda.
That's awesome, because so frequently you hear that the kids who lose their parents or have been displaced suffer because they do not have the same advantages of other children who still have their parents, or they have aunts and uncles who are taking care of them. And I really think it's a great idea that they have a mother and a father, and that they are accommodated so that they have as normal a childhood as possible, because
Mhm.
childhood is not a given. It's something that some kids just don't have.
True. True.
And
True.
it doesn't matter whether they're from Uganda or even from the United States. Some kids are forced to grow up very, very quickly. Some
True.
kids run away from home for various reasons. So I'm really delighted to hear that provisions are made for these kids really to experience a
Yeah.
good home
Yeah.
life.
And you know what? Most of that is through the help of the different partners we are getting all over the world. So in our concerts, what normally happens, we besides sharing the love of Jesus, we ask people to join us and sign up and either sponsor a child or a mother. And through that, we have gotten very many people who have sponsored us, and that is what is actually helping us. And so I wouldn't say it's just Watoto, it's the different people who have come alongside us, even the radio stations like yours that are publicizing what we do. So we are so grateful for the different people who come alongside us. Oh yeah.
I think that's awesome. Now,
Mm.
when the kids are brought up, do they learn their native language as well as learning English?
Yes. So back in Uganda, we were colonized by the British. So normally when they go to school, they are taught in English. But there's in Uganda we have over 52 languages plus. So there are certain languages that are people speak more than the others, and one of them is a language called Luganda. So most of these children, apart from English, in their communities, normally they grow up when they know Luganda first. Even the ones that we travel with, you will notice English. They speak English, but not as fluent as they would speak Luganda. So yes, most of them are taught by their moms in their homes most of their native languages.
Good, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they also are taught the culture of Uganda and its history as well.
Yes, they are taught in school. So we have I don't know if you have it in the U.S., but in Africa we have a subject that is called social studies and history. And in these subjects, basically we study about our background, especially where we come from, how far, the different migrations that were made for us to be where we are at. So through that study of social studies, most of them get to know especially their heritage.
And so they have a sense of who they are and where they really belong. It's not just because the British are in there, but they have a sense of who they are.
Very, very true. They do have a sense of who they are. They do.
And that's very important. So the songs that the children sing, are they folk songs, or are they stories about the land or about the culture? What do they sing about?
Oh, the songs that we sing, the songs that we did do in our concerts. The key point in the songs is basically what God has done in our lives as a ministry, and in their lives, because most of them wouldn't be where they are at. Through so we the songs basically declare the goodness of God, of what God has done in their lives. But now how the songs are composed, we kind of merge up different languages in Uganda and try to portray. So you'll notice most of our songs have a bit of English, have a bit of a language called Luganda, they have a bit of a language called Kiswahili. Then with the instrumental, the band, what the band plays is more of an African arrangement feel, but using Western instruments. So we try as much as we can to bring in our African heritage, but again, because our biggest audience is in the Western world, we also try to make them understand by incorporating a bit of the Western culture in what we do.
Well, that's good. And so do you use a lot of the native instruments to accompany the kids?
In our concerts, we basically use more of guitars. We use mostly Western instruments, but we have what we call backup tracks. When they are recording some of those tracks, they add in a bit of African instruments in there.
Ah, good. I would hate for them not to understand that there's some other instruments that Western society, of course, picked up with the drums, and there's I forget what it's called now, but it's a piece of wood with different lengths of metal.
Yes. I know, I get that, but I also don't. We have a couple of those. We have djembe drums. They are kind of hard to say in English, but I know them with their African names. But we have a couple of them in our songs.
The kalimba, that's what was one of them.
Oh yeah.
When you don't think about things, it comes unbidden, I have found.
oh yeah, true.
And that was brought to me, and I was interested in instruments when I was a child, and I liked to experiment. So, and I was also introduced to the Caribbean oil drum as well.
Okay. Oh wow.
Which is pretty neat. Yeah.
So you definitely tested a bit of Africa in there.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. So my father was an international troubleshooter, and he would go into different countries and help them negotiate without people raising their voices and everything. So when he came home, he would bring home different things to me, and that was a lot of the things that he would bring back.
Oh wow, I bet it was.
So I understand the choir's already here. So are there different cities within the United States and that they're already planned to go to the choir?
Oh yes. So we arrived in the U.S. on the 21st of February. So we've spent close to a week and a half. So basically, this tour will be aimed at the Midwest of the U.S. So we will be going to Texas, we'll be going to Illinois, we'll be going to Missouri, we'll be going to Arkansas, we'll be going to Oklahoma, we'll be going to Iowa. So basically, we'll be stretching towards the Midwest. So this coming week we'll be at Missouri, and then we shall be going to Kansas again. Then we're going to Texas, and then we shall just head towards Oklahoma, Iowa, Minnesota. Then we shall finish our tour in Illinois.
That would be very interesting.
Oh yeah.
But the weather out there is pretty brutal at the moment.
Oh yes, it is. I'm told. But when we came in, you know what's funny is it's amazing that the kids actually get to love it, because when we came in around Missouri, it was snowy, but a little, not so much, and the children literally wanted to go and touch the snow because they had never seen the snow. So it was a good experience for the children.
Oh, I would think it'd be an awesome experience for their children, because the United States has varied climates, as do many of the countries in Africa as well. Their climates vary as to where they're located on the continent.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're going to get hot weather in California, and they're going to get rainy weather up in Washington State, and they're going to get snow and ice over in the Midwest and in the East. Well, we already are up to the 60s this week, which is unusual in March.
Yes.
So they'll be very happy, but I think they'll see a lot more snow, which should make them feel very happy.
Exactly. But again, I would really love to thank, we have a country office right here in Tampa, Florida. So before we came in there, they did a tremendous job. We found jackets for us already, hoodies, gloves. So at least what we have can make us go through the harsh conditions for now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you'll be fine, although I don't know. My son was brought up in Houston, Texas, and his blood was thinned, as they say. So living in Pennsylvania, he complains every winter, because it's too cold for him. Because by now, Houston's already in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's pretty cold.
80s is very warm.
Oh, Okay.
That's okay. There's no problem. I mean, I'd get mixed up too all the time, so it's
True.
not a problem. So you'll be concentrating mostly in the Midwest, and do you prepare in schools, or do you go to auditoriums and large?
What we normally do is we go to our most of our concerts are in churches.
Right.
And we also do schools. We do churches. It's mostly churches and schools. Churches and schools, I would say. We used to do a bit of streets, but of late we haven't been having those. But if there's someone who really needs us, definitely they can get in touch with the office, and we can get to them and do a concert for them.
Well, that sounds really nice. And how large are the choir? How many kids are there in a particular choir?
Okay, so for this particular choir that is toured in the U.S., we have 16 kids, and we have 10 adults. So of the 16 kids, 8 are boys, 8 are girls, and then of the 10 adults, we have 6 men and 4 ladies.
And they're all involved within the ministry?
Oh, yes. You mean the adults?
Yes.
Yes, all the adults are fully involved in the ministry. Most of them are either part of their creative arts back at home. Now, creative arts is the department back at home which organizes and coordinates worship at church. So puts together a team of worship leaders and a band. So most adults on the team are part of that. Then if for those who are not part of creative arts, they're either part of other departments of maybe the ushering ministry, maybe the parking ministry. There are different ministries back at home, but all the adults at least are plugged in one place or the other. That's how they actually get to be handpicked to join the choirs.
Okay, and how does a person or, say, a student was listening, somebody in college, for example, was listening on to the broadcast, and they may ask, well, how do I get involved?
Or how to get involved to get involved with the ministry?
Yes.
There are very many different ways, but the easiest would be if they can go to our website, which is www.watoto.com, and Watoto is WATOTO. If they go there, they'll find the directions they need, and they'll definitely be helped.
Terrific, because I know that a few have already asked me about it. In fact, my station manager is very interested. So now I'll know how to give her the correct information so she can also become involved. Sam, is there anything extra or additional you want to tell the listening audience that we haven't covered?
I would basically just love to say we are so excited to be in the United States. This tour is a 4 months and 3 weeks tour, so we'll be ending in July 8th is when our tour ends. Our concerts are basically talking about the goodness of Jesus, like I said before, and yes, I would love to just say we're excited. Whoever would love to partner with us, just know whatever you will be doing, you'll be changing a life in Uganda. There are very many people who need help. We still have very many orphan children. We have women that still need to be who have been abused by their husbands, and they have nowhere to be. And there are so many that Watoto cannot take care of all of them without the friends of help, without the help of different partners around the world. So if people can really come alongside us, I guarantee our life will be changed. And I would love to say thank you so much, Lillian, for having me on the show. It's a pleasure.
Well, I am delighted that you came on, and please keep in touch. Maybe before you leave and go back to Uganda, you and your choir would like to come back on.
We would gladly love to.
Because I just think it's awesome. That's all I have to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, you can hear this interview with Sam all over again over at https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. On the right-hand side of the page, you'll find the menu. Scroll down until you come to Cool Your Ears. Click on it, and you can hear the interview. It will also be posted on Facebook.com/PWR Network, on LinkedIn /PWR Network, and also on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Podcast Chaser. Just look us up on Google and you ought to be able to find us. And before we go away and stray, Minicus had this to say in the 4th century: "The great man is he who has not lost the heart of a child." Thank you all very much for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio and about Sam and his choir. And until next time, have a great day.